Okay, today's video, we are going to talk about conversion lift testing is what it's called. Google has a new thing they're coming out with called Google Conversion Lift, which is basically the same exact thing but assisted through Google Ads. I'm going to talk about, since this is becoming more of a mainstream thing, I'm going to talk about what it is for the people that, of course, want to know what it is. But even for you guys who stumbled upon this video, your subscribers here or whatever, want to know what this is actually something that can make you money that you're missing out on. And for the most part, since display advertising, Google Display Network ads, most people don't think it works. Even doing remarketing ads for a lot of the clients that we talk to don't think it works despite what we're saying. The information I'm going to give you here about conversion lift testing is actually going to put that entire argument to sleep. Why? Because you're going to be able to physically verify for yourself how much it works. And obviously from there on, kind of sleep well knowing that the money that you're investing to run banner ads, whether that's to people who've been to your site before or people that that you want to get as customers, or even video ads that you're running on YouTube, that it actually pays for itself and has a key critical piece that it's adding to your business that you want to keep in your business forever. So with that said, I'll basically get into the content here. I'll go over an example of how to do the conversion lift testing for your business and actually understand, can display advertising work for your business, even outside of Google. Hell, you could use this to, of course, test billboard advertising, advertising on the back of a bus, all that other stuff. And then, be able to build up an inventory of different advertising methods that actually work for your business. And so, respectively, you become a little bit of a scientist. You try running video ads for your business. You see if that works. If it does work, you keep it. If not, you move on to something else. Display ads on Google Display Network, or Facebook ads, or TikTok ads. This is going to be able to tell you essentially how well certain things can work and contribute to your overall sales in your business. As a small side caveat to this whole thing, this is more so suited for people who aren't just starting out. It's people who already have a lot of customers already that they're generating through their advertising, through their business. They got a lot of customers in general. And the conversion lift testing process was brought up because, particularly for bigger companies, if you're Oreo and you run an ad on TV, how do you know that ad actually got more sales for you? And it's through conversion lift testing. So this is not a new concept. In other words, you could figure out how much that TV ad brought in terms of sales. And so, but even a small company that's only doing like $1 million or $2 million a year in sales, in your niche, if you're fairly dominant, if you run an ad for somebody on YouTube for people doing research in your space, as to the product or service that you're selling, do you really know does that actually contribute to getting you more overall sales revenue into your business on a regular basis? Because they could have saw more than one ad. They could have saw that video ad, they saw something else, and respectively also they could have got a referral and then they saw your video ad. And if your video ad generated a sale directly after they clicked on the ad that they purchased on your site, hypothetically, that data is skewed because it's mostly of course in that case the referral that got you sale, not the video ad. So this actually breaks apart all the different kind of touch points that a consumer typically goes through, because it's and the bigger the company it is, the more that it is. The bigger the company you got, the more individual touch points that are going to contribute to a sale for a customer. And unless you're just a tiny baby company, almost all of you guys, even you're doing niche marketing, are going to have multiple things that contribute to a purchase for a customer, and you should definitely and through this process be able to break apart what each individual thing is worth. And not only that, like I said, you can figure out how to add new things and see if that new thing actually is does it carry its own weight? Does it pay for itself? To know if that's going to work for you, because adding it, and then with all the other stuff you got going on, it's hard to differentiate. And then with that, you can add other things and test those things and find out that those things carry their weight and build up a huge empire of different marketing assets that are out there in the public, all that are carrying their own weight and contributing to your success as a company. And i.e. so that you could actually scale a marketing plan for your business. So anyway, with all that said, I really will get into the content now. So what is conversion lift testing? I kind of explained what this is. Basically, this is the process of figuring out how much display advertising works to bring in your customers. And this is a channel about PPC, but even though conversion lift testing can be done on any advertising, so-called display advertising that, offline or online, it could be TV ads, bus ads, any of that stuff. But as it comes to online advertising, when we're talking about anything besides like search engine advertising, this can tell you more so than, the conversion tracking of, or just as good, we'll just say, as the conversion tracking that we have in the tools that we have to see if somebody clicks on a Facebook ad and then buys, or clicks on a display ad, a banner ad somewhere and then buys, if they saw a video ad and then buys. Given most display ads that you run online, non-search engine ads that you run online don't normally bring in immediate customers. And so with that, you can see how much those ads that influenced the buyer, that got them closer to a purchase and were worth running, even though it didn't directly get the person to buy right then and there. You can value how much that influenced the buyer, nudged them along to get them closer to a purchase, or just to get them to a purchase in general, because without that little extra nudge, they would have never got there at all. You can kind of think about, when you're trying to convince somebody to buy something, and you're not selling a $20 broom here, it's not or a candy bar. People have a certain amount of threshold that they must get over, and it varies by person, obviously, but there's a certain level of threshold that a person needs to get over in order to be comfortable and willing to buy from you. And you could think of marketing for your business. What you're trying to do is do several things. Obviously, you could do one thing and that could work to some certain minimum degree, but you're trying to do several things in order to convince that person enough to get over that certain, purchase threshold so that they'll actually buy from you. And sometimes it'll take doing one thing for some people. Sometimes it'll take 2 interactions. Sometimes it'll take 3 interactions. Sometimes it'll take 20 interactions. And the more of it you do, the more likely it is that you're going to nudge them over the edge. But of course, we still got to figure out, of each one of those nudges, what's the power of each nudge? Does it have a ROI to our business? Given it does get them closer to the purchase, but what's the amount it's nudging them? If we run remarketing ads for our business, i.e., ads that show up for people after they've been to the site, how much more does that nudge them closer to a purchase per dollar spent compared to, a different ad that got them to our site in the first place? And being able to monetarily assign a value to each nudge, so ultimately each component of your marketing strategy that gets people aware of your products and services, and then further convinces them to buy and gives them reasons to buy, that each, like I was saying before, each piece carries its own initial weight. And given a lot of the banner ads and stuff that you can run online, people expect, because you can track this, of course, people actually expect that somebody sees the banner ad while they're reading a news article, sees your product, immediately clicks through and buys it. 80% plus of the value of running that banner ad to that person is not from somebody who's going to click through that ad and buy immediately. Most of that value, assuming that you're following the tutorials that I give you on this channel, is when somebody sees the ad, is the ad's clear enough to provide a reason to buy, or educating the person on another reason to buy on that ad, influences them and gets the person wanting to buy without even having to click on that ad, and makes it more likely they're going to buy in the future, but they don't buy right then and there. And it's the value of how much it nudges them closer to an actual purchase itself. Ultimately, a lot of people will click on that banner ad and go to your site and investigate the product, but they're not going to buy right then and there because they were reading a news article and they get paid on Friday. They're not going to buy then and there. The value isn't getting them to buy right away. The value is in how much it gets them closer to that initial, cutoff point where it takes for that person to get to it where they are actually willing to buy, if you will. And, of course, when they get paid, when they decide that, that they're going to buy, that they remember you and they make sure they still buy from you instead of a competitor. So anyway, with that said, an example here would be running a test to see if your remarketing works. If you're running remarketing for, banner ads that show up for people after they've been to your site, and you can do that through Google Display Network. You obviously could do that through Facebook or even TikTok now, or any of these other networks. They have remarketing options there. If you wanted to know whether or not that remarketing actually provides an ROI for you, in that it provides enough of a boost, or it gets them that much, the average person, it gets them that much more closer to a purchase, that the money you're spending to remarket to that person actually has a positive ROI. What you could actually do then is you could run your remarketing ads to, if you were just targeting, everybody in the U.S., let's say, so you're advertising to nationwide in the U.S., you could run your remarketing ads to just half of the U.S. for 3 months to see exactly what is the monetary value of running those remarketing ads to your business. Does it actually itself provide an ROI to your business? People get, again, caught up in the fact that, yes, you could, through Google Analytics, through Google Ads, through Facebook, through these other platforms, you can actually track with the remarketing ad specifically if somebody sees the remarketing ad, clicks on it, and buys, or if they don't. So because they have that, and because, like I said before, 80+% of the value of running that remarketing ad, if you're doing the remarketing right, advertising things like your testimonials, your reviews, reasons why they should, trust you and believe the claims that you've made about your product or service and what it can do. With that, because most people aren't going to click through and buy, and because most of the value is in just seeing that information and then saying, I do want to buy that, but I'm going to buy it a little bit later. They don't think remarketing even works. They want so damn bad for somebody to click that damn ad and buy right away, and if they don't, they're not going to do it, that they just don't do it at all. And ultimately, all these other old school advertising methods where, TV ads, newspaper ads, and all this, people never had the convenience of trying to so they never expected people to see the TV ad and then immediately purchase. Unless it was like a direct response ad that was like, for a $30 product and you have to buy it now, that type of thing. But for some reason, as it comes to online ads now, and banner ads and so forth, if people don't see the ad and immediately buy, there's no value there. So I don't know why people have gotten so spoiled. That's why everybody wants to do online advertising now, because it's trackable to that degree. But it doesn't mean it doesn't provide you customers and provide an ROI. It just doesn't provide it instantly. So therefore, people think it has no value. And we have known for years that as a whole, doing remarketing. So there's always I know I'm getting a bit away from the topic here, but it's good for you to know the background of this stuff. There's a thing called powers of 7 in marketing. You will, in general, with your marketing budget, you will make more money advertising to fewer people than to advertising to everybody, or advertising to a greater amount of people, but only marketing to them once. So in other words, if you had $1 million to spend and you spent that whole $1 million targeting a whole bunch of people, but targeting them once to target as many people as you could, you would make less money doing that than if you spent that $1 million targeting everybody on that list, targeting less people, but you targeted each person 7 times. Because it takes a certain amount of touches for that person to get over that minimum threshold to where they're going to buy, so that, if you just, basically market to everybody once, very, very few people are going to get over that minimum threshold. It's just like saying if you were going to go out and try to get a girlfriend, and your game plan was to talk to as many girls as you can, and you went up and asked, hey, you want to go out? And if they said no, you just go to the next one. Or you spend more time with each individual person or each chick to be able to get a date. Obviously, spending more time with less people would work. So why is it that people don't know automatically? Why isn't this like common, default common knowledge that you want to market to people more than once, instead of spending all your money to just try to reach the maximum amount of people possible. In the marketing space, the people that are in the marketing industry, they know this power of sevens. They understand you have to remarket to people. But business owners as a whole, as I talk to them, they just think you target everybody once and that's it. And I will say in some industries, like if you have a broken pipe, you don't have to contact them more than once. That's one thing. Mostly 98% of products and services sold out there, contacting them more than once is going to be more profitable than contacting more people but only once. So anyway, we've known for years about that concept here at our agency, and with that we know when we run really good remarketing to people that we do everything we can to get the right people to the site initially, like from a Google search or whatever, and then we do a really good job remarketing to that person with our testimonials and our reviews and our guarantees and our shipping policies. Like that we offer free shipping, and then we have a promotion saying that we'll offer you a discount right, for this week only if you take advantage of this discount code, and have a whole series of ads show up for the person after they've been to the site. That'll basically double the ROI on a set amount of marketing budget. Then you're going to get spending that same marketing budget only contacting everybody once. And the main reason why that is, when you're talking about online advertising, by the way, is because it's so cheap to have a banner ad show up for somebody after they've been to your site compared to what it costs to get somebody to the site in the first place. It's idiotic not to spend that extra money. It literally costs a penny to get somebody back to your site, not to get back to your site, but a penny to have someone see an ad, a remarketing ad, when really when on top of that it costs a lot of times $5-10 to get them to your site in the first place. So why are you not spending that extra penny to have a review show up for them? And so you could literally spend $5 to get them to your site. If you spend an extra 50 cents remarketing to them another 50 times, you would get a lot more return than if you just spent that extra 50 cents targeting another tenth of a person. Is that way that math works out? So I always got to constantly explain these concepts to our clients so that they understand, even though the return on the remarketing, as you look at the account, doesn't say amazing numbers. Sometimes it does, certainly, but not every single time. It depends on the product or service and how much of a impulse buy it is, and that kind of thing. But I always have to explain this to the client so they know that the return, even though it doesn't have a good enough, at face value, the remarketing ad doesn't show the return that some of the other ads do that were, like on Google search, where they're ready to buy something now, and that's why they're searching for it, so that they don't, kind of argue against the remarketing, that we know we need to get a good return overall for that client's budget. So if you were in that situation where you didn't think remarketing works, you could just very, very easily find out for yourself. You could, like I said, take your remarketing budget itself, instead of remarketing to everybody across the country, remarket to people on half of the country, and just do it for 3 months. And with that, then what you do, of course, is you look at the end of the 3 months, how many sales did you get from the half of the country that had the remarketing going, and the other half of the country that did not have remarketing going? What was the differential in sales between the one half of the U.S. and the other half of the U.S.? Then, without a doubt, you're going to know what the power of the remarketing is added to your business. And then from there, because you know how much you spent with your remarketing, you can quantitatively determine, is there ROI from that marketing, and not just looking at how many people clicked on my remarketing ad and instantly bought, because generally speaking the return's not there, particularly for bigger purchases. You can identify, is there ROI there from the general effect it had on the consumer in increasing the probability of that person making a purchase somewhere down the road. Okay, which is the way more important thing, is how much money does my bank account have in it versus what the numbers on the screen inside my account say, which is, in comparison, really irrelevant. The numbers in your account are great for trying to determine if you should do male versus female, or this time of day versus that time of day, and optimizing your ads. That's what stats inside your ad accounts are good for. But to know how much you're physically making, doing the conversion lift testing is what you actually want to do. So anyway, to give you a scenario how this works, and this is actually pulled from an actual experiment where we did this with the client, where we spent $5,000 of advertising spend on remarketing here, okay? Then we just advertised to the right half of the country, or as close to half as we could basically get, okay? And then we did not do remarketing to the other half of the country. The left half was our control. And of course, if you were going to do this yourself, one half of the country is still going to have a certain amount of conversion potential that's different than the other half. Just because the demographics are different in one half of the country versus the other, so you would have to work that into your experiment here to see what the ROI is of remarketing in your business. So anyway, of course, we did that. And so for 3 months, we ran, or roughly 3 months, basically until we could spend the $5,000, we ran the remarketing in the right half of the country, and we got 428 conversions itself, which were sales specifically in that right half of the country, okay? In the left half of the country where there was no remarketing going, we had 347 conversions, okay? Now, like I was saying before, if you were to do this yourself, you would have to take into consideration what's the conversion potential of the half of the country, and does it normally convert better than the other half, or does it convert worse than the other half? And then work that into your numbers so you have not skewed numbers. The right half of the country was naturally about 12% higher converting than the left half of the country. So instead of 428 conversions, we rejiggered the number there for the right half of the country, and it really, 428 conversions is really like having 479 conversions for that right half of the country due to itself normally converting less than the left half of the country by about 12%. So anyway, assuming, or in other words, if you wanted to keep this simple, you could just divide, you could split the country in half, do your remarketing on one half, don't do remarketing in your other half, and then subtract the amount of conversions you got from one half of the country versus the other. The half of the country you're doing your remarketing in, of course, if that's a higher amount of conversions, then from there you just subtract that minus the other half of the country where the remarketing isn't running. The difference, which in our situation, after correcting our number, because the right half of the country converts a little bit less naturally than the left half. So we had 479 conversions in the right half realistically after the correction, if you will. 479 minus 347 conversions in the left half of the country leaves us with 132 conversion difference between the right half of the country versus the left half of the country. Again, right half with the remarketing running on it, the left half without remarketing running on it. And then going back to our previous spend of $5,000 of advertising spend, if we divide our $5,000 with the advertising spend that we spent exclusively on the right half of the country, and divide that by the difference in sales that we got from the right half of the country versus the left half of the country, we now know how much our cost per sale was having that remarketing basically that remarketing advertising running. So in other words, to run remarketing to people that we've initially attracted to the site, it costs an extra $38 per transaction itself to run that remarketing advertising. So at that particular stage, then the question becomes, can you pay $38 for a lead or a sale? Depending if you're measuring leads or sales. In this case, we're actually measuring sales. Can we pay $38 for a sale and still have that be acceptable after our product costs and so forth? So in this case, damn yes, it was right. We would pay $38 to get another sale in our business. You should always obviously know if you're going to do any advertising for your business, you got to know ahead of time. Even if you're generating leads, you got to be able to break it down. How much can you pay to get a customer? or how much can you pay to get a lead? And then you set up all your advertising to be able to generate that number. You try stuff. A lot of times you won't hit your number, but when you cut out the 80% of the advertising that doesn't work, you get there, and then you move on to the next traffic source, and then the next traffic source. So as you're trying to figure out if remarketing is working for you, if this were you, you would already know that I'll take a customer all day long as I can get them for under 60 bucks. You run this analysis, run your remarketing that you don't totally believe in for 3 months, but only in half the country. Find the difference between the half of the country where it was ran versus the other half where it was not run. Divide it by what you spent to run that remarketing during that test period. Get your cost per acquisition for running that remarketing. And if that cost per acquisition is less than your target or acceptable cost per acquisition, you've got a working strategy that you don't want to turn off. Because if you did turn it off, your sales would certainly go down, and it would be dumb basically to do that at that point. So that's how you do your a reality check for yourself to see if remarketing itself is going to work. Is it profitable for your business or not? And like I said, we spend a lot of time to do remarketing right, which most people aren't doing remarketing right. Most people are going to do remarketing where they're just like, are you ready to buy yet? No? How about now? No? How about now? How about now? How about now? And it really pisses people off to the point they hate advertising. You want to help the user buy when you're doing your remarketing. Like I said before, we do testimonials, reviews. One day they see an ad and it says you had a great testimonial from Joe Smith. And the next day they see another ad from you that says you got great reviews on Google. Then the next day they see an ad from you that says you offer free international shipping. In case you didn't know it, we offer free international shipping. The next day they see an ad that says you have a 20-year warranty on all your products. And so you're spoon feeding them in little bite-sized chunks the information they need to know of why they should be buying in general, but be buying from you so they don't stray away from you. They do that. Good remarketing does both of those things. And if you do it that correct way, which I've got videos just about how to do remarketing right if you want to check into that, but if you do it the right way, you'll get every penny of value out of that remarketing, because going back to that Power of Sevens, and you should see similar results in that your cost per acquisition is actually as good and probably better than what you're getting like from your Google search ads trying to drive new people in to get them to buy. And then, of course, you can see what the actual value is using that kind of a formula for yourself. And then once you've done this, so basically once you have that done, you go on to other display advertising traffic sources to try to see what you can get from those. And like I said, a lot of times they aren't profitable, but when you find the 80% of it that doesn't work through your conversion tracking, then it will work. But it's the same process that I just explained here to see if that's working. So if you wanted to run let's say a Google display advertising campaign targeting everybody who's been to your competitor's site, which I highly, highly, highly recommend you do for any of you guys watching this, which you can do through custom intent audiences on Google Ads or through Google Ads. You can make sure that every person who's been to one of your competitor's site sees an ad. If you want to do it ideally, that says why you're better than that competitor, and on a competitor by competitor basis, you run that prospecting ad so every person from now on that's been on a competitor's site at least that you've basically that in your market, they see your banner ads, and then you can run the same kind of analysis again, making sure that every person who's been to my competitor's site sees these banner ads. What is it actually, how much of an impact does it have on our sales? Okay, and of course, I know what you may be saying here. How do you make sure you can experiment with something where basically somebody that because isn't everybody going to have either everybody or nobody has to see your ads if they've been on your competitor site? And the answer is no, because you can actually have the banner ad show up for everybody who's been to your competitor site before in the recent past, but only if they're from the left half of the US. So you could compare left half versus the right half. And that, which, by the way, is better than doing no banner advertising and then do it and then compare before and after. The reason why that is because most businesses are seasonal. So if you tried to of course, run your banner ads to everybody who's been to my competitor site in the recent past from July to, September, and compare the results there from, April through June, you're not going to get a good apples to apples comparison, because April through June's numbers on a year-over-year basis have a different conversion potential than it does from July to September. Now, you could do something where you normally see what the conversion difference is from April to June compared to July to September, and then apply that cofactor, if you will, to your numbers when from July to September, to make sure that if July to September is normally better, that you correct the amount of conversions you have before you plug in and do this formula that I gave you here. But in general, even if you look at past years' data for July to September to see what July and September is, how it's different than April through June, it's still going to be, every year is just a little bit different. And generally speaking, when you do a split test, it doesn't matter what kind of split testing you're doing, you want to do the split testing just as split test is literally speaking, you actually half the traffic goes here, half the traffic goes here. Not you run ads for a while, then you shut them off, and then you see what happens for a similar amount of time after. That's not, split tests shouldn't be run that way. They should be run concurrently. And the best way to run it concurrently is to generally, for most people, split up geographically. So if you're targeting, a city, just have one half of the city see the ad, other half of the city not see it. And that's the kind of the most accurate data set you're going to be able to get, and most accurate results, most clear results for showing how good that ad actually is for you. So, and of course, like I said, you could test all kinds of different advertising using this method. If you wanted to test bus ads and you actually operate in 2 cities, just do it in one city and run the same formula and see if that actually does it lift sales enough to justify its cost. So a lot of people are doing this with YouTube video ads. YouTube video ads, even more so than banner ads, are going to be, the main value is in them seeing it, not them seeing it and then instantly buying. Who the hell is on YouTube watching something and then they see a video ad and they're going to go buy instantly? Almost nobody. But it has a hell of an impact on somebody who's seen, particularly like remarketing, but even if not, somebody who's just generally in market for your product, to see a really good 30-second video ad when they, a lot of people don't watch TV ads anymore because they're not even watching TV, and so out of all the people in your niche, you're probably the only one running video ads in your niche. They probably only seen your video ad. So if they're in market for what you have to sell, which a lot of times with Google Ads, basically all the time with Google Ads, you can actually target people who are in market for what you sell right now, either by targeting people who've been on your competitor's site, like I said, or just recently searched for your product or service on Google search. You can have them see that video ad, and for sure that's going to have an impact, on the average amount of people, of the people that normally were going to buy something in your niche. They're now going to buy from you at a higher percentage because they've seen that ad, if you will. The whole question always is just how much is the impact, and that's why you got this formula here to determine it, and not be like typically everybody else who's going to run that video ad, and because people didn't click through and buy right away, you said it doesn't work, and then that was the end of it, when really it did work, you just didn't measure it properly. So anyway, that's the kind of the deal with that in general. You can test your remarketing, and then once you've done that, you can compare, you can test other prospecting, just Google Display Network video ads, Google /YouTube ads. Then you can get into doing things like TikTok and Facebook, and there's so many different advertising options out there on the web. There's so many pay-per-click networks out there. You can run Reddit ads and Quora ads and HBO ads and Hulu ads. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And there's only one way to tell if that shit ever works, which is to run an experiment like this. So this is actually so powerful that Google in my ad accounts that I have access to, we have managed a few dozen clients that are PPC firm here at any given time. I don't actually see in the tools menu, but it's a new thing in some accounts, and this, so basically it's in beta, but it should be live in most accounts or all accounts pretty soon, I would think, probably by the time you're watching this. You're supposed to be able to go into the tools section on your Google Ads account, and then under performance, there's Google Conversion Lift. And everything that I'm talking about here, they crunch all the numbers for you. They'll literally speaking send half your traffic without having to do basically any work. They'll send half your traffic that you were eligible to have your video ad. Like, so let's say you're running a video ad now. You simply go into this Google Conversion Lift tool or section of Google Ads, if you want to call it that. Select your campaign and say you want half of the people that were seeing it before to see it and half of them not. Or at the very least, of course, if I'm not spending, my budget is limiting me from having my ad show up more times than from showing as many times as it could have. Hypothetically, if I were to spend the rest of the budget itself, what would be the, out of all the people that are going to eventually convert into a customer on my site somewhere, somehow, what was the likelihood that they were, or basically how many people purchased versus didn't purchase that saw this specific video from this specific video campaign? In other words, it's supposedly an easier way to run the same calculation that I'm talking about here, but this calculation is so easy to run that you basically don't even need it. I'm just pointing out that they have this because Google knows how important it is as well to specifically grade and judge display campaigns, because it's set up there to grade display campaigns you will go in there and see that they're saying it's for app campaigns, display campaigns, and video campaigns. Because they know what I know, which is most of the value from it isn't people who clicking through and purchasing right away. So anyway, before I wrap this up, the formula here again is you simply you have a set amount of ad spend to test this new ad, whatever the ad is that you want to test. Half of the traffic is going to go to one half of the people you're targeting now. One half of the traffic is going to, sorry, taking a step backwards here. The traffic that you want to test, you come up with an ad budget, and then if you're going to target USA wide, then of that ad budget, you only target one half of the US. And once the ad budget's already spent, you look at the conversions, whether that's you're tracking leads or sales. You look at how many conversions you got from the half of the US that had the ad running, minus the amount of conversions that you had from the half of the country that the ad wasn't running. That number, you simply divide that number by your ad spend, and then you got your cost per acquisition of what it costs to get a conversion from that ad spend itself. Okay? So, and of course, work in there, like I said, if one half of the US, looking back at your old conversion data, out of all the customers you get, how well does one half of the US convert versus the other? And if it converts a little bit better, which it certainly always should, work that into your formula ahead of time so that when you subtract how many conversions you got in the half of the country where you're running your ads, you either you correct that number so that, because that half of the country may convert a little bit better or less better than average, so that you get a real true calculation as to how much that lift, why they call it conversion lift, how much conversion lift you got out of your market making sure that they saw that ad itself, versus not having seen it itself. So anyway, that's the formula on how to do that again, and I'll wrap it up with that. So very, very cool tool or process to use to test out new things that can work. I always say you should always be testing. Just don't test and bet the whole house on one thing at any one time. I like to devote 10% of all the ad budget we're spending for clients at any given time, as well as our own business, on the small promotions that we're doing, on new stuff to try to break the mold of what we have that we already know that works. So we're constantly able to improve. And that 10%, you're not expecting it to ever work. When it does work, it's nice. You add that new thing to your whole repertoire of what you have going already. But that 10% is just an investment in the future. And you don't risk and you make huge gambles on your current campaigns as they sit. Because generally speaking, when you run online PPC campaigns, the algorithms, Google's ad algorithm, Facebook's ad algorithm don't like change. So you don't want to make big changes just for the sake of figuring out if something can work. But on the other hand, of course, you've got your day-to-day sales you need to have coming in for your overhead that you have at your company. So you don't want to jeopardize anything there. You just want to be able to test 10% take 10% of your budget to test stuff on the side, or just small parts of what you're doing, testing that, so that you constantly have feedback about what can actually do better. And even if 1 out of 5 tests that you run end up showing you can get better results than what you had before, it's worth it. That's why you always are going to never stop testing. You're just not going to test more than 10% of your account at a time, roughly speaking, so that your day-to-day sales don't fluctuate too much. But you still have a way to continuously keep growing your sales numbers. And of course, that testing might just go into a whole new channel. It might be you're not doing YouTube ads now, but you're testing YouTube ads. You're not doing TikTok now, you're testing TikTok ads. And you're seeing what can happen with it. So anyway, with that said, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to say on today's video. If you liked the video, consider giving it a like for me, and consider subscribing, as I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other money-making strategies that can make you a ton of money with your PPC. We give you the exact strategies that we're using at our agency here to guarantee people's results. So basically, as far as other information that you're going to find on YouTube about PPC, other people are going to show you what buttons to click on and what campaigns are that you can do. This channel gives you the actual information about what works and how to use it to make money. It's the best information as far as I know on YouTube to for making money with PPC ads for your company. So, and I also, by the way, have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog where there's step-by-step information on how to build campaigns the way that we build them, which I have authored myself. And so if you're looking for more detailed advice on how to make money with PPC, if you go to that blog, you can see how I physically set things up for our clients to make money, and it goes more into detail than I go into detail on this channel itself. So if you have any questions about conversion lift testing, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. As a final note, I have a brand new PPC program here at our agency where we're offering turnkey PPC campaigns. In that, we have 50 to 100 different campaigns that we've put together in different markets that have had millions of dollars in sales results from them. And if you're in another market that doesn't interfere with a different client that we have right now or a client we've had in the past, to where you want to open up a foundation repair company in Michigan, and we have had multi-million-dollar a year results in Texas, you could actually, instead of hiring us to help you build a campaign, we can give you the campaign templates that we had already running in Texas, in which we already know what the results are and the landing pages, and you can just simply buy that from us and pretty much know what results you can get in Michigan before you even start. And so instead of having an ongoing so-called expense hiring a PPC agency, even though that's worth the money, if you're a person who just wants to have the working model of what works with PPC for a market that we've already been in, you could have that. And like some other people that we've dealt with, which is the reason why we're making it into a formal program, certain people will just start up a business that they've never been in, set up a website, throw out on the campaigns that we've set up for that we gave them and the landing pages. Right away, it makes money. They outsource the work to another partner, and they've got basically a business in a box to where they keep 5 or 10% of the top line revenue for themselves. The other person in their local city does all the work. It's a great little business to start. We also have product campaigns where they're have a client operating in one country. Your country, you can operate that same campaign, and you basically will make money with it right away. So anyway, we may have something that we've already done in your market already. So why figure out how to do PPC for yourself when you can just use the the exact campaigns that we have for that market already that work? And there's only one way to tell if we've operated in your market and have results like that already that we can just simply hand over to you or lease to you, which is contact us. Or if you're just looking to start up another business or some sort, just we can let you know what we have, what kind of results we can get you if you were to use the campaign that we already built and optimized for years for another client in your market. Beyond that, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, got a lot from it, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.